Boom! According to that, I am live. Welcome. This is Tokyo Tonight. My name is Hiko Simon. It's great to see so many of you lovely people already here watching. I see tons of people in the chat, although right now the live indicator says that there's 0 and I'm all by myself, but that doesn't seem to be the case. It's great to see. We've got, who have we got in here? We've got DJ Sunny Side Up rocking it into the chat first. Great to see you as always. Hope you're having a great day down in Kochi. We've got Mage Goes X already. Checklist, chair, check. Is that a cookie? Butter? I hope that that's butter. Anyway, check. Already. Yes, good to see you, Mage Goes X. Kerberos Tenshi, third. Good to have you in here. Void Thirst. First. Void Theft. Ugh, got totally confused by the message there. Great to see you. Whichever, fourth, I suppose. We've got Mr. Cordy Chip in at fifth. Appointment later today, so you'll miss part of the stream. Don't worry about it. Just glad that you could join us for whatever part of this, but that's all cool. Got Dan H. Again, great to see the gang in here so early. Couldn't agree more. Do you think it would be weird if I were to adjust? I had to change the webcam settings because I had everything darkened to be able to capture the iPad for the live stream last night, which, by the way, I flashed up some personal information, which is why I privated the video. So yeah, there was some home messages showed up on the phone that I was using as a camera. So if I go into here and I go down to here, image settings, it's probably a little bit overexposed, but also what if I washed it out but increased the saturation? There we go. I look like I'm not dead now. That's much better. Boom. What else we got in here? We got, yes, Kerberos Tenshi, food for thought. Hitler wasn't a German. He was an Austrian. Food for thought. Yes. Austrians always. I mean, it's a complicated question. He became German, didn't he? I mean, he didn't identify as Austrian, even though, yes, you do get a little bit of an out with that one. But I love the, what is the Sacha Baron Cohen character? Bruno, the Austrian fashion media personality, who is the second most popular fashion media personality in the German-speaking world outside of Germany. I love that intro. So was Hitler. Yes, indeed. Elon Musk isn't an American. He is actually South African. Yeah, and trying to make America South African again as we speak. So there we go. It occurred to me the real danger might not be Trump. Oh, jeez, they're all yes, people talking about who's the biggest danger to the world. I mean, it could be someone completely innocuous. Who knows? But yes, indeed. Who's the biggest problem in the world? It could be me. Dan H. Say JD is the bigger threat. Well, based on US expected life expectancy, he could be president. Yeah, he's a weird character to me. It's kind of funny that Trump is kind of giving him the I don't respect you treatment. And so it's like he's trying to earn the validation of Trump, including with his first ever foreign policy speech to the Europeans, which it sounds like they really, really, really enjoyed. I'll come to this. I'm going to talk about this today. The thing is, there's a lot of smart people in the State Department, and and J.D. Vance is a Harvard Law School graduate, and I don't think he was a legacy admission either. You know, again, it doesn't quite jive with some of the stupid stuff that he says, but it does show up at least in the sense that as much as you want to dismiss everything that people you fundamentally and ideologically disagree with as wrong or stupid, there are fundamental truths underlying the statements. I mean, you know, why did he have to make fun of Greta Thunberg and say that, you know, you need to be afraid of the threat within and side with like fascists and stuff in Europe? That was all sort of bad, but at the same time, he was pointing out the fact that Europe has regulated its AI industry to death, and you know, has basically tried to get around consequences for that by making everybody else sign up for the same regulations and saying, hey, how about no? Europe's AI regulation is terrible. It's partly my job to sort of lecture governments in this area of the world what the problems with it are, and there are many. It's just you can't know if your use case for your AI is, approved or not when you make it, because you don't know how people are going to use it. The risk-based approach is right, but the expectations of pre-reporting and everything like that are just ridiculous, even if there are good intentions behind it. So, Europe, also the criticisms of Europe over, for example, underspending on defense, and it's made them, they've made themselves irrelevant. They're having an emergency meeting on Ukraine now when, basically not because Ukraine's being screwed, but because they're being left out of a diplomatic negotiation where they've made themselves irrelevant. And, I really wish, because I don't like to see Ukraine get screwed over, I don't want the Europeans to be sidelined, but there again, they set themselves up for it. So I don't like JD myself, but I do dislike that there are truths. And not everything he says is made up. Or even wrong. It's just he delivers it in such an obnoxious way, and he mixes it with, like you say, willing to defend an adult who said normalize Indian hate. Yeah, that Musk, Doge employee who said that. Indian wife. Yes, as you also said that. Yes, Dan, each phrase. He's just completely sell out whatever principles he's got for whoever he's working with. That does make him dangerous, the fact he's so desperate to please. But there you go. Greetings from sunny Hamburg. Thank you for all the hamburgers. It's been a lovely day here in Tokyo. It's been, today was actually, I went out, I did my marathon training. I was coming up, first story I've got there, or actually it's one of the topics that I've got on there, was I am following the sub 3 hour 30 marathon training plan. My goal is actually sub 3:45, but I figured I might as well train for a faster pace. So I've been sticking to that. And I went down, I've been, mainly because it's been cold and miserable, I've been running on treadmills. I've talked about this. I haven't been running outside at all. But today was like, after I finished, I was running in like a singlet, in like a running singlet. And I carry a jacket to wear when I go outside. I went outside. I didn't even need it. It was like 16, 17 degrees. It is a bit of a warm burst and it is going to get cold again. But I'm hoping the weather's going to be like this for the Tokyo Marathon. Of course, most years it is freezing cold. I mean, if you think of Hanami, you think of cherry blossom season. It happens at the end of March. And most of my memories of cherry blossom parties, including the YouTube ones, are basically, hypothermic experiences. They're generally miserable, even at the end of March. So even with climate change, I'm not expecting that the March 2nd, exactly 2 weeks from today, Tokyo Marathon. That's going to be a hell of a Tokyo tonight. I'll be talking after the Tokyo Marathon. I'm hoping it won't rain. It won't be too cold. It could go either way. We're about to get a cold snap back, but it has been lovely and sunny and warm. It's been basically, you can go outside in a t-shirt today in Tokyo. So that's been great. The Master, hope your Sunday was just as sunny. It was indeed. Shubhas, never fear. I do not fear because you are here. I hope that JD Vance is not going to take your canal or anything like that. I hope you got a delicious cup of coffee and you are enjoying your Sunday morning. As the rest of you, hope you're having an early, a fantastic Sunday there, whatever time of the day that it is. Miss Cordy Chep pointing out Shubhas is fashionably early. No, you came exactly at the right time. I do appreciate that. Got a coffee kampai between Germany and Panama, as you do, because that is how we roll here. We've got Aaron, our wonderful moderator. Boom. Smile, 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 smile. Perfect. In fact, enormous smile. Great to see you as always, Aaron. Do appreciate you moderating as always. Seb, yo, great to have you in here. Remember, do what Aaron says. Good lesson for life. Smash the like button on your way in. Remember, I do not monetize these videos. I do it purely for likes and psychological validation. That's all that I do this for, and I do appreciate that. Got another coffee kampai coming out of Indiana. Holy crap, we've got all the way from Indiana to Germany, from Panama to Germany and back to India. I do like that. So yes, indeed. Got Tudom. You got the Netflix sound. Great to have you in here. Hi, as always. I don't look dead. I'm basically vain. I'm basically looking in the mirror, talking to myself. If you think about it, whenever I'm doing this live stream. So when I'm overexposed and I look and I don't really, I don't have a tan even at the best of times, but yeah, when I look really washed out, I can up the saturation. So there we go. We are sorry for that. You are sorry for what? Says Christopher Luke. It's not Bart. No, no, no. It's Bruno, who isn't such a popular character, but Bruno has only a couple of funny lines. He's not one of his best characters, but I do enjoy it. Did I see Elon bringing his son in when talking with Trump? Yeah, yeah. Bring your son to destroying the U.S. government day. Yeah, I don't know what to think about all of that. I mean, the thing is, America, you voted up and down for this. Um, the ball hasn't been hidden on anything. America voted, the lower house, the upper house, the executive, all the judges, everything is set up that basically everyone wants to give Trump free reign, and that's what they've given him. And and they knew about all the crazy stuff that he had planned. The what is it, the Plan 2025 or whatever that Heritage Foundation book is, and everybody knew everything that's happening and voted for it. And so again, part of me looks on with exasperation, but part of me thinks it's not the individuals, it's not Elon or Trump or JD Vance. Frankly, it's and this is what scares me actually, it's that Americans like voted for this, like clearly, like unambiguously voted for all of this, which is a good lesson to the world. That while I think the world, I've always said this, that the world is better with America in it, but it's not like the Americans' obligation to be in the world. Americans are fundamentally an isolationist country, and they're kind of sick of having their leaders dragging them into the world without them really being asked if they wanted to. So America having a backlash on that at the moment, and Elon taking the axe to all of the sort of government stuff happening which people think they didn't ever sign off on. This is just America going through its cycles, but yeah, it's a shame. I would really like to see America back involved in the world, but it's a good reminder to the rest of the world. Don't expect America's, especially Europe right now, don't expect America's going to do everything for you. Like Europe's kind of been doing, because, and same lesson to Japan and everyone else, because something every now and then they're going to throw, people in America are going to get fed up and throw their toys out of the pram. And there we go. So, and then you got Elon in the White House. So yeah, isn't dumb just kind of evil? Says Crystal. I don't even know what to make of him. Honestly, I don't like to characterize people as evil, but Jesus Christ, you're really, it's about as close as you can get, indeed. The Master was just asking yourself recently how much the EU AI Act is worth. Glad you cleared up the question for me. Yeah, there's actually, I've been involved. Part of my job is talking with regulators and about what they should do on this. And I don't think there should be no regulation on AI, but it should be based around the principle of promoting innovation and promoting, particularly in your own home countries, and Europeans have regulated AI faster than they've developed it, and they've made it impossible. Even Mistral, they're the most successful European AI company, only is the way that it is because they have think tanks over in America where people can develop and not have to not need two lawyers for every engineer. As a lawyer, I should actually be for the EU view, but if I'm advising governments on how to have policies that they say, how do we do really well at AI and make sure we get all the benefits, I would say don't follow the EU AI Act. They've just gone crazy on it. All of this, if it was only the EU regulation, there was a lot of industry as well as medical regulation. Oh, I mean, everything. And this is, again, while I disagree with Brexit, and Helen, they did lie and make up a lot of stuff during their Brexit campaign, there are still fundamental truths, including, I mean, this is a great example that the UK has a lot of freedom to avoid being caught up in a lot of those sorts of things now. Oh, Denmark, petition to buy, where can I sign? That would be great. Poor old Denmark. Ida, shout out to Ida. It's one of those things, again, I can see in the abstract the point. I mean, Greenland is part of North America, and it is actually strategic. It is actually geographically strategic to the United States. And frankly, it's a colony. I mean, it's like, Nauru and Niue, New Zealand, a similar population. They're independent countries, but New Zealand still handles all the foreign affairs and defense, exactly like Denmark does for Greenland. I understand all the limitations and everything, but there's sort of two steps here. Greenland should at some point be independent. I know it's on the path to that at the moment. It's sort of quasi-independent right now, but yeah, yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of weird at the moment. It really feels like we're back in the 19th century. I mean, literally, the US president is like quoting the 19th century and wanting to go back and do all those things. So there we go. Ozempic money. Well, there we go. So actually, I mean, I'll tell you what, if there's one thing that you could buy California with, it would be with Ozempic money. So there we go. There's to quote a certain world leader chosen overwhelmingly by the people of the United States of America, Denmark's going to buy California and it's going to make Californians pay for it using Ozempic money. That would be, that would be too good. I mean, let's face it. I don't think Republicans want California anyway. They'd probably be happy to give it away. Christopher, Luke, you can't even run for 1 hour is a long time to run. Seriously, I'd mostly run half an hour 3 times a week. And now, like today, I had to run today on my goal for today. By the way, I am now on the downhill streak to the Tokyo Marathon. So all my peak runs are now done. So all the runs that I'm doing are now shorter. The one like long, I do a torture run on Wednesdays where I run for like 90 minutes at peak heart rate, which is awful. And then I do like a long run. I've been doing 3-hour runs on Sundays on treadmills, watching like Netflix and Apple TV and stuff. I was watching Severance today. Today, 1 hour 45. I had to run. So instead of 3 hours, I only had to run 1 hour 45, which it turns out was exactly the right time to run just over a half marathon. So it's crazy to me that I am now running basically. I used to train for weeks to run a 21-kilometer half marathon. Now I'm running 2 half marathons at half marathon race pace twice a week as part of my training for this marathon 2 weeks from now, which means I'm actually in remarkably good shape at the moment. I mean, I'm not right now. All the health wisdom says do weights, don't do cardio. Cardio is very Jane Fonda. I should be wearing a leotard and a headband. I'm following 1980s health advice, and most of that advice isn't really shared anymore because people who are following it are all dead. No, they're not all dead, but cardio is good for short-term health, but not good for sort of longevity. Whereas people are pointing out weights are good for longevity because it's that loss of muscle when you get old that actually leads to accidents and lack of loss of mobility and stuff like that. I'm freaking skinny as I lose muscle on these long runs, but I am fit. So I'm not in a situation that I could fight Rocky, but I could sure as hell run away from him, and I'm okay with that. But I am going to have to switch things later on. But it is remarkable. I found this program on the internet, and it's a 16-week marathon training plan. And when I picked it up, there were only 8 weeks left. So I started from week 9, and instead of running every 3 days, every 2 days, you run every day except for one rest day. So I've only got, where am I at here? I'm on at the end of week 14. So I only have 2 rest days left. But the runs do get easier coming into this. So I should be relatively fresh on race day. But I never imagined I'd ever exercise this much. My oxygen capacity is awesome right now. But yeah. DJ Sunnyside Up. What do I think of America changing the name to Gulf? It's the well, you know what? If it's Trump, I would double check how he spelled Gulf. But I believe it is the Gulf of America. We have our own here in Japan. Let's bring this back to Japan. We have our own similar controversy here. In Japan, we have the Sea of Japan, which interestingly was not named the Sea of Japan by Japan. Japan never really had a particular name for it. It was just the ocean. But cartographers from Europe, when they were mapping everything, they called it the Sea of Japan. Which is funny because from the Korean perspective, they always talked about the Yellow Sea on the west side and the East Sea on the east side. And they insist that the proper, universally accepted name, outside of these, propagandized Japanese sympathizing Portuguese missionary map makers is that that became the Sea of Japan, just by some sort of an accident, and it should be renamed to the East Sea. And maps do the same thing. As you might know, if you look at Google Maps, they'll often put a slash because Korea, whenever they have their anti-Japan left-wing governments in Korea, which we're about to get back again, they go on these long sort of tirades about, say, being very angry at Japan over the Takeshima rocks that they actually control and call Dokdo. But they're upset that Japan even thinks that they have a claim on them, and they get very, very upset about that. And the EC, they've done these massive UN campaigns to at least get the slash in there and get it acknowledged. I've always proposed that the solution for the Japan problem of should it be the Sea of Japan or the EC, and I've always proposed to the Koreans that the best way to make this neutral would be to call it the West Sea. We have a Rashomon problem, different perspectives of the same thing all at the same time. It's dumb. I don't know if it makes kids feel 1 inch taller in schools in America. It isn't there. There's another dynamic to this. I remember backpacking, meeting Central Americans and even Mexicans, I believe, who a lot of countries in South America and Central America back me up on the shivers. They insist that they are, like America is not exclusive to the United States of America. All these America's countries often have official formal titles that they are the something of America, the Bolivarian, revolutionary states of America and all this sort of stuff. So when in America, I've seen like Central Americans go off on these bewildered American backpackers when they say that they're American, because it's like, no, you don't have a monopoly on the word American. It belongs to all of us. You need to say that you are from the United States of America. And they actually made me feel sorry for the Americans. So I suppose if you want to look at this at a glass half full way, the Colombians can claim that the Gulf of America includes them now, perhaps. I don't know if that's the Dominicans and everyone else. Maybe they can pretend that it applies to them, even though clearly it doesn't. Yeah, like I say, I think we're in for a tenure which will be basically a whole lot of empty gestures, although also probably some gestures with impacts as well. This one mostly just pisses off Mexico, and I kind of understand the flip on it. I laughed out loud when I saw that Google Maps was actually now including it with the slash on maps, just like the Korean EC. I think there are bigger problems in the world. Frankly, I think if America wants to name stuff with its own convention, it does have a huge, Gulf of Mexico coastline. If they want to change it, I mean, America they changed the name of Mount McKinley. What was it, to Nam or something? Or no, that's actually the name of Perth. But they renamed it to the indigenous name, under Obama, and now, Trump's changed it back. But, geez, America can call it Tony if it wants to. I think that, so who knows? I think it's kind of irrelevant and stupid. Mr. Cordy Chip can't even run for 2 minutes. One funny thing that I always tell people who start running is to be very careful on your first run, because you will be surprised. Anyone can run for a good 15 to 30 minutes, because we're all designed, no matter how unfit we are, and no matter how overweight or unfit or, how few limbs we have or whatever, we're all designed to, if we see like a panther or a snake or a saber-toothed tiger, we are designed to run away from those things. Even if we're going to have a heart attack in the process, we will have the heart attack after we're far away. And you'll get muscle aches, and you'll tear muscles and not be able to walk. And it could take you weeks to recover from it, but you will be able to run in an emergency, which is a problem, because basically on your first ever run, when you're unfit, your body has all of the warning lights completely deactivated on your body. So when you're fit, you actually start to be able to read when you're running too fast and when you're, about to injure yourself. But when you're not fit, all of those warning things are turned off, because they're designed to be turned off, because we only need to run in emergencies. So, Mr. Cordy Chap, you can run. You might not ever run again, but you can actually run for more than 2 minutes. But don't. Or if you do, basically you have to run less than you think you can, because otherwise you'll be paying for it for ages. California is one of the biggest economies in the US, but also they have a huge deficit, I believe, and honestly, the way that their government works is kind of a mess. But yeah, Aaron asks, what am I going to eat after the marathon? Good question. Well, I'm going to be carb loading the week before the marathon. So I'm looking forward to all the carbs that I kind of stopped eating. I mean, that's how I lost all my weight, was by cutting carbs, whereas now I have to add them. It is actually, I must admit, really fun right now. It's going to be really like after the marathon, I'm going to have to go back to what I was eating before, which is going to suck, because basically right now I'm eating sweets, I'm eating chocolate, I'm eating bread, and I remain in excellent shape, and I'm within my BMI and my weight targets and everything, because I'm burning everything off. So my metabolism is going to be so overcharged when I go back to my normal routine of just running a few days a week. Oh, it's going to be miserable. I'm going to be eating like lettuce leaves pretty much, which I was doing, but it wasn't fun. And it is fun eating crap. Before the race, I've had an experienced marathoner tell me that she was eating udon every time before she runs a marathon, which is okay, but I don't know, rice and bread, I'm going to eat all that stuff. After the marathon, well, you know what, after the marathon, as much as you think I want to go to have a huge meal, you don't get very hungry immediately after a marathon because you're just so destroyed. The thing you want the most after a marathon is a banana. Because it's got tons of minerals which you lose during the race, and honestly, like some oranges and stuff, just anything with lots of like liquid in it. But I don't know, I'll probably go for a pizza or something after, and then I'll figure out what to do with my life after that. I didn't see that halftime show from Kendrick Lamar. I heard about it. I watched the BBC live text updates about the Super Bowl, which I believe is a big music concert with a sort of a pre and post show like football match, which sounds like it was a massacre. So I don't know. Romans voted to end the republic too. How did that work? I mean, I don't know. Rome just kind of split in two and declined. I mean, right now, Russia claims to actually be the continuing Roman Republic, which they claim to inherit the Constantinople government, but who knows? Previous guy, why did the US even have to do it again? I don't know. 13 likes. We need more likes, everybody. Like me. Hey, salutations, the J Vlog. Good to have you in here. Salutations right back from Cordy Chat. We've got Sadiq. Great to have you in here, Sadiq. We've got everybody. Run the marathon in a leotard and a headband. I dare you. I'll be tempted. I mean, I'll tell you what, it'll at least be warm. It is kind of the convention at the moment. Everyone wears these sort of leggings and stuff. And I didn't do it this weekend, but I'm thinking this week maybe I should go up and actually buy, just especially if it's going to be really cold. I don't actually have like those body stockings. It's kind of a leotard. But yeah, going full Jane Fonda, I mean, headband, I sweat a ton. I sweat a lot when I run. So, I mean, I don't know. I think people in the 80s, did they know what they were doing? No, they probably didn't. There was a lot of cocaine being taken in the 1980s, but I think they might have been onto something. I think that there are wristbands in the headband, normally to hold up hair, which isn't really a challenge for me. In fact, it would look like a rugby ear protection tape thing. But dare me, I will consider your challenge, Aaron. By the way, I'm also thinking, do I take my action camera? So I am thinking it'd be great content. I'd love to take some videos and some photos while I'm running the Tokyo Marathon, especially when I get to landmarks like Tokyo Tower and stuff. But it is heavy, and I'm going to run for 4 hours and nearly die. So really, I probably shouldn't be adding unnecessary extra weight. So I think the correct answer to this is no. Don't be stupid. But the other part of me is thinking, well, maybe I should dress up like Jane Fonda. And that part of me says I can also carry a cam to shoot selfies the entire way. And it's a coin toss for me. Who knows how this will go? But yeah, we'll see. Don't forget the tights. I never forget the tights. Lara, who knows? Doesn't seem to be in here yet. Yeah, we've got Believe in Yourself, doing a roll call. Great to see everybody. Trolling Korea again. I love Korea. I do. I genuinely love Korea. It's just I hate it when they're beating up on Japan. But the West Sea, it's a good idea. It's a perfect compromise, is it not? I don't know. So there we go. The sea in between Japan and Korea. That's far too long. I think West Sea is much simpler. Panama, they say it's part of, indeed, Central America. Exactly. So the Gulf of America, Panama can just maybe every country can come up with their own name for it. Like, Cuba can call it the Sea of Cuba. And who really cares at the end of the day? Don't forget China. China could call the Gulf of America the Gulf of China. That would be awesome. And why not? Plus, they could actually make it change all the maps there. Definitely should be the name of Gulf of Mexico, because this sea was land 300 million years ago as part of Mexico. I like where you're going with that, Sadiq. I see one. The critical thinking lawyer brain would respond. Who was the prime minister of Mexico? Who was the president of Mexico 300 million years ago when the Gulf of Mexico was part of its land? And was it? I mean, half the Gulf of Mexico is off Florida and Louisiana and Texas, right? I mean, Texas itself was part of Mexico back then. So, and it was part of Spain. I mean, maybe we just call it the Gulf of Spain. But no, then obviously we have even bigger problems. Yeah, that's a rabbit hole. I am not going to go down any deeper. But Gulf of the Americas. Well, actually, the Americas isn't a bad way. In fact, it'd be kind of an excellent troll. I kind of agree with Edu that if every other country in the Americas, including Mexico, agreed to call the Gulf of the Americas instead of the Gulf of America as singular, that would be an excellent kind of slight troll. Because imagine Google Maps, it would have to say the Gulf of America, the Americas. It would literally have like the correction in the middle of it. That would actually be yes, change New Mexico to Breaking Bad land. Hey, that would do it. Should have turned left at Albuquerque. Wow, we've got so many comments. Who even needs topics? Let's go through this. Yes, well, so much for getting into the topics today. We're going to get into it. Broccoli and rice, says Christopher Luke. It's probably a pretty good idea. Bacon wrap, cherry blossoms. Who knows? Carlos Ghosn was right about the Nissan merger, Honda merger. I didn't understand the Japanese dismissing him, considering that he used to run Nissan. Well, I think I disagree with this take. He was correct to say it wouldn't work out, but he said it wouldn't work out because their strengths were in common and their weaknesses were common, and it didn't make sense. That's not the actual reason that it failed. The reason that it failed, by the way, there's an excellent Asianometry podcast episode that came out yesterday talking about the failure of the merger, the history of Nissan specifically. But the point was, if you ask me, Honda and Nissan was never sincere. It was basically using Honda to get out of a potential takeover bid by Foxconn, the Taiwanese company that owns Sharp, Honhai Industries. And I think that problem will come back now. But I think it was just a stunt by Nissan, and they were never serious. I don't think it was actually the logistical problems of putting the two companies together. But yeah, Ghosn was right that it wouldn't happen, but for different reasons. A banana and a cola, says Edo. Cola, surprising amount of salts. Okay, that's pretty good to know. I thought cola was just battery acid, I thought. But I'm taken under advisement. People actually in America would have like bananas and hot chocolate, which I don't know. I mean, actually, the chocolate makes sense for the energy anyway. But hell, I'll do that. Bright pink yoga suit and sweatbands. Hell, I'm not against the idea. Maybe not on the Tokyo. Well, I mean, geez, you might as well stand out. It is the Tokyo Marathon. I think I'm just going to get the Tokyo Marathon done. But if it was like a fun run or something like that, I would have no hesitation. In fact, actually, I want to go get sweatbands. I'm going to look them up on Amazon actually after this. They must still exist. I'm kind of down with the idea of a sweatband actually. So many comments. The meteor took care of that area with the dinos and probably killed the Mexican president in the process. All of these other names, we got all of that. Bars. Okay. Topics. We made it to the topics. It's 11:03. Plenty of time. We always do this in plenty of time. By the way, apologies again if you saw the live stream last night. We were having tech problems in the house. My son was desperately messaging me over and over and over that the Wi-Fi was down in the other room. We just set up a new phone. So I had to go fix that. And I was distracted by all of that. So I made some mess ups on the DJ set. And then some of the messages somehow were showing up in the camera app that I was using. So I had to destroy the entire stream afterwards. But we'll do an after party today. I took a coffee at 4 o'clock. I'm in good shape for this. Let's look at what we've got for topics. I think there are quite a lot today, so I'm going to go super fast. First of all, Yahoo offers a long article talking about how you can avoid noise harassment of your coworkers due to typing too loudly on your computer. what it really comes down to is, well, they've got a long list of suggestions, but you get a keyboard like mine, custom made from Shenzhen with linear, lubricated, silent keyboard switches. You can actually you can mitigate a lot of the noise, but they're pointing out how the enter key, what's high heels? What are they about high heels? Are they talking about stomping your keyboard with high heel? I don't get that. But a lot of people apparently gong gong, and yes, so the sort of noise that you can so they don't just talk about keyboards are the main one, everybody hitting the enter key too loudly, which, remember, with Japanese you have to do with every single word, because you have to switch it from the phonetic sound into the Japanese sound and then hit enter. So Japanese, it's like hello, bang, I bang, am bang, the bang. You have to do this in Japanese, so that can definitely be a thing. High heels making noises are a problem. People joining meetings from their desks, and leaking the sound out. Watching videos in the break space with earphones, but the noise leaking out of your headphones in the break space. Are you kidding me? Oh, so they've got this whole manners guide on how to minimize the noise that you could make that might traumatize other people. The world is coming to an end, and it's starting in Japan. So you heard it here first. An X post here, Mr. Jeffu, who I love, but he posts on X, and I prefer to post on Blue Sky now. But yes, he's got conservatives in Japan arguing that Japan must not allow separate names for married people because they will upset family unity, symbolizes connection, societal norms. One name is a long-standing tradition that must be maintained. It would be administratively complex to keep track of people with separate names, and it might have negative impacts and confusion and a sense of disunity for the children, which all sounds very scary, except that in Shinjuku ward in Tokyo, 20% of marriages are international marriages involving foreign spouses. 3% of the population of residents in Japan are foreigners. A very high percent, so a relatively significant proportion of those marriages involve foreigners. And of course, when there's a foreigner, while Japanese marrying each other are forced to adopt one surname or the other, it can be either one, although generally it is the man's. When you marry a foreigner, your name does not merge. In fact, you have to go to the family court and explain why you want to change your name. And it's not that you're like in the witness protection program or trying to escape debts or anything like that. It's because I married a Gaijin. And you actually have to go through this and explain to a judge why you want to change the name. So that the state already has tons of data which would validate that none of these concerns are wrong. In fact, the only real thing that the international marriage stats kind of show, unfortunately, is a very high divorce rate. But data exists to show that all of these concerns about allowing spouses to keep separate surnames, which is the default if one of the two people, even if they're a permanent resident, even if they're a special permanent resident who's lived in Japan all their lives, they don't have a koseki. So when you marry them, your names don't merge. So there's all this opposition to allowing separate surnames, yet they actually force a significant percentages of marriages to already keep separate surnames, even though they insist it's a Japanese tradition not to allow that. So they're kind of undermining themselves, all of that stuff. Seth hates whispering. That is certainly a thing. I'm going to keep powering through the topics because we don't have a lot of time. In Hiroshima, climate change, global warming, the water is too warm, massive die-off of Hiroshima oysters. Hiroshima oysters are awesome because they are enormous. I mean, most countries you get an oyster is like that big. The oysters in Hiroshima are like this freaking big, and they're juicy. And also, since we're talking about oysters, I have a point that I want to make about oysters. Hey, Black Tengu, glad that you could make it. Nice to have our Greek representative in the house. Oysters, whenever I go overseas and everyone's having like raw, I've been to parties where they have raw oysters, and I'm like, are you gonna cook any of those? Like, like bake them or ideally deep fry them and crumb them? And people look at me like, what are you, some sort of kid? I'm like, no, they taste best deep fried. And everyone looks at me like, no, you're supposed to be sophisticated and slurp the aphrodisiacal, oyster, out of the shell and squirt lemon on it and get food poisoning, which I have experienced food poisoning from oysters, and it's not fun. you don't have the food poisoning, and it tastes better. You cover it in mayonnaise and breadcrumbs and lemon, and just eat that stuff. Grilled as well is awesome. Like I've had grilled oysters in Japan where they grill them, they sort of bake them, and they put like cheese and stuff on top, and they bake it on top. And it tastes bitter and raw and weird, and you've got this risk of getting pretty severe sort of germs and shit like that if you eat them raw. In Japan, you have these massive, massive, gigantic oysters that, you know, you'd probably choke like it was a mochi if you tried actually slurping it like raw from a shell. Deep fried, they're the best thing. They're full of protein. I eat them all the time when I'm training and stuff. They're actually they're an excellent source of protein, and they're cheap. They sell them for like 490 yen for like a whole thing of 5 enormous Hiroshima oysters. So this picture of all these dead oysters is killing me. Apparently the water temperatures are higher, which is causing mass die-offs of Hiroshima oysters. They're letting the deer down there eat them, which I imagine is going to make them very, very happy deer. Maybe they're going to end up with too many deer after this. I don't know what's going to happen, but it means that there are going to be fewer. We're already ending. Oysters are a winter thing in Japan, so they you can still buy them, but they are dying out. But I eat oysters honestly like 3 or 4 times a week, and I have them deep fried. And the West and our insistence on eating these raw is wrong. It's not the best way to prepare them, and you're missing out, frankly, if you're doing it that way. Miss Cordy Chet won't eat oysters for that very problem. Yeah, I deep fry them. It's safer. They taste way better, and it's awesome, you know. So there we go. Question to Black Tengu. Yeah, you're feeling the Santorini earthquakes. And seriously, like when you're getting thousands of earthquakes on a caldera volcanic island, it's not the earthquakes that I'd be worried about. I'm worried about the event that ended the Bronze Age. Like people are saying that, you know, the Santorini explosion, the last time it exploded, is possibly what caused the Ark myth in all the Mediterranean cultures, and ended the entire human civilization around the Mediterranean and the Middle East all at once. Are people not worried about that? And yeah, I hope that the earthquakes are okay there as well. So raw oysters are better than cooked. Dude, really? I am not a believer in that, and especially with Hiroshima oysters, they need to be cooked. A French person apparently said that hamburger, Japanese style Hamburg steak, is really Japanese food. It's not. Oh, and yes, we actually have someone from Hamburg here in the house, so I think I'd like a referee on that. A French person said this is really Japanese food. In Europe, people only use mince for children's food, and we don't really eat it ourselves. Isn't this true? So all these Japanese people started sort of commenting like, "Oh, really? This is how Europeans think," which is just proof to me. My comment I've already made up there. Asking, you know, where is it from and so on, and what's the story with Hamburg steak. But there is just this phenomenon of these, you know, this shouldn't be happening anymore, but it does happen. The last time Mount Fuji erupted, I believe, was in 1780 something, and it erupts every 250 years. Checking the time. Once every 200, we're basically, and it erupts like clockwork every 250 years. And the last time was 1770 or 1780 or something like that. So we are exactly on time for Mount Fuji to cover Tokyo at about a meter of ash, which is like concrete. Feb 1708, pardon me. Thank you for the correct. I thought 1780. Thank you for the correction, Google and Aaron. But yeah, that's right. We're overdue. So that's the thing. So this thing, how hilarious and painful, how it's still possible for any single asshole foreigner to become a recognized sole representative of their entire nation and culture in Japan and be taken seriously by everybody. Like a French person says that Hamburg steak is children's food, and the whole Japanese internet takes it seriously. And yes, Eric Bailey, great to have you in here. I'm glad we can start the show now. You mean people actually listen to the French? Yes, in Japan they listen to them. And actually a French person who follows me is like, oh, this makes me cringe. She wants to hide somewhere. But yeah, basically just this thing. And you know, back when I started out here and there were only 5 foreigners in Japan, we would have this enhanced sense that even if I said anything wrong about New Zealand, like the sheep, fly or something like that, people would still take me seriously. But now there's 35 million assholes coming to Japan, as tourists all the time, and yet they still take them seriously, and they teach us foreign one. And when it's an asshole, it makes the news, and it's like, and everyone's like, oh really? So we have that problem. But yeah, yeah. So we got all of that. Plus 250, 1958. Yeah, we're in fact, Aaron, since you're googling it, I might have misstated that as well. But as I understand, the cycle is 250 years. It could be 300 years. I don't know. Check what the cycle is. How often does Mount Fuji erupt? I'm sure Google has an answer for that. Moving on. Don't be this good. So as much as I feel for my interpreter friends, my translator friends, who talk about how AI, everyone say, oh, we're not going to need interpreters or translators soon because AI is getting so good, and it really is actually getting pretty good, better than I thought it would get. The mechanical translations did not work at all, but the neural translations are getting scary good. But people saying no, for something really consequential, for something really important, like where you could end up in jail, or if it could be for like medical treatment, you still want a human in the loop just to make sure that the AI hasn't made any mistakes. However, criminal trial in Osaka, a Chinese person who was in court with an interpreter apparently admitted to some charges and not to other charges. But apparently the interpreter said, oh yeah, he admits to all the charges and received a much more harsh sentence than he would have received otherwise, basically because of the translator mistranslating guilty or innocent by the defendant. The interpreter errors led to a appeal to a higher court, who said, yeah, you should redo the trial because the interpreter, these translation mistakes were sufficient that he probably would have gotten a different sentence. And this is a case where, hell, maybe we should be using automated translation or some sort of hybrid thing, especially when you consider that the translators are being provided by the court, who really are being provided by the prosecutors, and are kind of incentivized to support the prosecution view. It's not even the system in Japan of looking after prisoners is not neutral. They're actually looked after by the prosecutors. So yeah, never trust an interpreter. Damn interpreters. But this is the thing, when you're in life, when you're facing the justice system and you're being offered interpreters and they're your lifeline, you'd like to think that, yes, please tell the court that I plead guilty to A and B, but definitely not C. And it's like, yeah, he pleads guilty to everything, Your Honor. Yeah. This is, well, one, it's a good reason to learn Japanese. And two, it's a good reason that maybe we want to hurry up with that generative AI translation. The Osaka Expo is 2 months from now. It's coming up. I don't know. It just seemed like a stupid idea where it was all the development was behind time. People weren't showing up, all the usual stuff. But 2 months ago, it looks like it's going to happen. And you know what I'm thinking? Actually, there's so many tourists coming through Japan, and honestly, not very much to do in Osaka other than Universal Studios Japan. I think even though they haven't pre-sold tickets like they were hoping, given how cheap it is and that it's going to be pretty cool to go there and how popular tourism to Japan is anyway, also the fact that it appears that Trump is going to actually visit the Osaka Expo himself. He's going to do the return trip that Ishiba did to America. He's going to do the return trip and visit the Osaka Expo himself, which is going to, well, I mean, I don't know, it could be negative publicity, but anyway, people are going to be aware of the Osaka Expo through that. So 2 months ago, if you're planning to be in Japan, I mean, it doesn't happen very often, and actually it probably actually will be pretty cool. I'm not going to go out of my way to go down to Osaka just for the expo, but hell, if I was coming to Japan on a trip and I was planning to swing by Osaka, I'd get a takoyaki and head over to the Osaka Expo myself. It's probably going to be pretty cheap anyway, so yeah, that's coming up really soon. This article says that Japanese people, actually only 9% of Japanese people have used generative AI, even though 62% have heard of it, and most people are very skeptical and thinking that it should be highly regulated. I work in the tech industry, so this surprises me. Japan is always, to me, been come across, and other polls that I've seen show that Japanese are very optimistic about like robotics and AI. Japan's very techno positive, generally. So I'm a little bit surprised at this article that says this, but yeah, will Trump eat takoyaki? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe an okonomiyaki where he chooses the ingredients of French fries and freedom. But yeah. So this kind of says Japanese are not as into AI, but I kind of see that. Now, I was trolling Korea earlier. I admit it. I was saying that we should call it the West Sea. But right now, the 60th anniversary of diplomatic ties between Korea and Japan. And right now, they are as good as they've been in a long time because the Korean president has been so positive about ensuring that Japan and Korea put aside their negative history and push forward as friends and forging diplomatic and defense ties. And really, relations right now are possibly at the highest point that they've ever been between South Korea and Japan. And so Japan lighting up the Tokyo Tower, celebrating Korea-Japan relations, the 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations being forged in 1975, I guess. 1965. Just one catch. Yeah, that president apparently tried to overthrow the Korean government in a coup, and along the long list of crimes that the president is being accused of, he's literally being accused of de facto collaboration with the Japanese colonial government of Korea from 1945. And there's actually a bill being introduced in the Korean parliament making speaking positively about Japan a literal crime in Korea. So take a photo, pause, enjoy the Tokyo, enjoy the Tokyo Tower lit up, celebrating the friendship and close relations between Japan and Korea, because this is as good as it's probably going to get. I want nothing more than Japan and Korea to be friends. I love Korea. I love going over there. I've got friends over there. I love the food. And I want Japan and Korea to be friends. And America doesn't even understand. What? You're both allies of America. How can you not be friends with each other? But they're not. They are at certain times. But I would like this to last. But the backlash against this is going to be pretty intense. But this is a really nice moment. I'm really enjoying this. Korean weebs, indeed. Well, Korean weebs, honestly, they just pretty much swim over here. I mean, it's close. It's easy to get to Japan. Tons of Korean, millions of Koreans live in Japan. Including especially if you include naturalized Koreans. So, and they completely blend in Japan, and they can do that. And a lot of a lot of the ones that do that say that they just don't like, they don't like the way it is back home, and they like Japan. So they're just quite, and unlike us, they can blend in. I say us, like people who look like myself. And they do. So, weebs exist, and they can come over here. But yeah, within Korea, it can be pretty charged. And the fact that it's politicized. The Ministry of Agriculture, the Stalinist commissariat of managing the production of food, has not only screwed up the production of dairy products, which I may or may not have talked about at some time or another. Where is it? Ben Lincoln's mum. Oh, I keep my emergency supply nearby. Thank you. Right here, if I ever need it. It's plastic, but I will still have it. But rice as well. Apparently they misplanned the production of rice. They're literally blaming foreign tourists eating too much rice as being the cause of the rice shortage. So Japan is now desperately importing all the rice that they're allowed to import under quotas that they have. Everyone pleasantly surprised by how well the Prime Minister Ishiba did with his meeting with Trump. I put in the GIF myself. I replaced the actual photo from the article with the in living color dating app, video segment called Lowered Expectations. And that's pretty much what it was. Nobody thought that, everyone was just, how badly will Ishiba screw this up with Trump? How much are we going to get, like a huge sort of trouble from America? How bad is it going to be? And the fact he got away with almost nothing bad happening, and everyone was just so relieved that his support went up. Good job, Ishiba, on not being noticed. Managing to sit in front of Trump and talk and not get us into any more trouble than we're already in. So everybody, based on our desperately lowered expectations, pleasantly surprised by the performance of the Prime Minister Ishiba in America. So there we go. Young workers in Japan are getting the highest ever starting wages, but companies are paying for those wages by withholding salary increases for people from the Ice Age generation, which is known in the West as Gen X. It's anyone who got their first jobs in the 90s, pretty much when the economy was sort of in stagnation. Basically, a generation just doomed to see nothing but economic recession and decline. And with inflation and everything happening, and pressure for wages to go up, and competition for all these young people at the moment, with people not being able to fill starting out sort of jobs. All the middle management who they figure can't escape anywhere else, they're withholding wage rises from them, and they're giving all the money to compete for young talent, at least for the first time. It never made sense to me that they paid young people that they really need to compete for the least, and this is why they were going off to foreign companies and stuff like that. So it's good to see people recognizing the scarcity, not having kids, means that you got to compete for the few kids that are around to start working at your companies, and they are doing that. But yes, it is Gen X is catching it in the neck for that. Niseko ski resort. I've heard about this for a while. This has been a topic. Niseko is, of course, basically the Bondi Beach of ski resorts in Japan. It's basically an entirely Australian ski town in Japan. And basically, partly because it's just flooded with Australian tourists coming in because of the cheap yen, and and prices just equalizing with what's expected, and they're charging what you can get away with limited accommodation, everything now. Basically, everything is on foreign prices in Niseko. Food, accommodation is basically you pay $1,000 a night for a hotel down there. Just for crappy lodgings. Food is all like 5 or 6 times the norm in Tokyo. And people pay it basically because you can't help but pay it. And the town is it does have this thing that it is, because the whole town is basically run in English and run by Australians. Half the land is owned by Australians there. It does actually mean that if you want to go on a ski trip to Japan and you want to go somewhere that's relatively comfortable and familiar and accessible in English, Niseko is a great place to go. So while I've been advocating for a while that Japan could solve its over-tourism problem just by spreading the tourists out more evenly across Japan, I am now realizing that by at least concentrating them in a few places, the sort of inflation caused by these tourists being able to pay more for everything, the Hawaii effect, you can limit that just to those towns, and you can just have Niseko be overpriced, and if you speak Japanese, just go to a different town and everything will be cheaper. There's an upside to not spreading the tourists around from that. So maybe, yeah, hey, everybody, just go to Asakusa. It's the best. Yeah, don't go anywhere that I want to go, because otherwise then I won't be afford to go. Speaking of not being able to afford to go, an interesting take on the Big Mac Index. The Economist has a Big Mac Index. I'm going to have a drink of water. You betcha I am. Aaron, I'm really speeding through these topics. I'm doing it. The Big Mac Index by The Economist. I love it. It's the cost of a Big Mac in every country to sort of signal whether the currency is overvalued or undervalued. And by the Big Mac Index right now in Japan, Big Macs cost about 50% what they cost in the UK and the US, which says that the Japanese currency is desperately undervalued, which is true and accurate. However, there's a new variation of the Big Mac Index. There is an hourly wage purchasing power index based on how many Big Macs you can buy in your own country based on the average hourly wage from that country. And it turns out that while Big Macs cost twice as much in America and the UK and nearly twice as much in Australia, you can still buy more Big Macs on the average hourly wage in Australia and US and UK than you can in Japan, which is a sign that both the currency is undervalued, but also Japanese wages are like not keeping pace with the price of goods, even though the price of goods are like half the value, which just shows how underpriced people, how underpaid people are in Japan. Which makes me very depressed when I think that when I came to Japan in 1998, 1999, it was to make money. I had dreams that I would make money and then go and retire in the lap of luxury in New Zealand, a country I cannot afford to return to now. So yeah, it's pretty much like investing my whole future on getting rich by living in, what's a country I can say without offending anybody? Zimbabwe. Let's say Zimbabwe. Nobody's going to argue about that. Yeah, so basically, I possibly bet on the wrong country, but that's okay because I like Japan. Did a big thread talking about my running stuff. I haven't been posting much runs on Instagram or anything like that because I've been running on a treadmill. I haven't been running outside, but yeah, 2 weeks to go. Going to start carb loading soon. Can't wait for all of that. The diplomats affirm unshakable trilateral ties. They're doing this because those ties are about to be shaken. The Korean opposition benches of the parliament softly start playing the music Shake Your Booty about the unshakable ties. So there we go. Me complaining about Europe. Yes, Europe is having emergency meetings. Like I said at the start of the thing, they're very pissed off at being left out by America and Ukraine being left out of the Ukrainian peace deal. But at the same time, Europe, they should have stopped buying Russian gas and they should have started improving their defense spending and defense readiness and defense production capability in 2014. And they're only having an emergency meeting now because they got left out of a diplomatic meeting, and their diplomats are annoyed. America has been right, and it wasn't just Trump telling them that they weren't, that they needed to actually pivot and recognize the situation they were in. They're complaining about America being bossy and leaving them out, but at the same time, there's no reason to include they made themselves irrelevant, and it annoys me because right now, with America looking set to sell out Ukraine completely to Russia, that annoys me a lot, and Europe doesn't want that to happen, but Europe can't do anything about it because they made themselves irrelevant, and they need to correct those problems, and I hope that they do because I want Ukraine to be taken care of. DJ said yesterday some stuff happened. Wow. Okay, I've got 1 minute left. Vivzilla asked me specifically on Tokyo Tonight to talk about the discontinuation of Viennetta ice cream, which actually I've got something here. Viennetta ice cream is like the wavy, chocolatey and ice cream with lots of layers and stuff in it, and they're discontinuing it. And while I feel both sad, I also haven't bought it, so I guess it's my fault. But yeah, just hasn't been working. Take a photo of the stat. 51%, the highest ever statistic. 51% of Japanese feel relations to South Korea. Pretty good right now. Yep, let's enjoy that moment. Nice to see news about Kitakyushu not involving hand grenade attacks on civilians by Yakuza. Yeah, they want to promote themselves as the sushi capital, so there we go. Good for them. What else have we got? We've got the Hungary murder case. Ugh, that was horrible. Not going to go into detail of that. Why do people hate Tokyo? Asks Gaijinpot, to which I ask, why do blogs post inflammatory clickbait? Everybody loves Tokyo. Tokyo is the best. Of course, everybody knows that. Japan's halted funds to the UN Committee on Women because the UN Committee on Women suggested that maybe the Imperial House Agency law should allow women to become the emperor as well. However, that puts Japan in the same position as basically the Taliban being against the UN Committee on Women. It's not, and doing this over who gets to be emperor just seems a little bit petty to me. China is very upset at American ships sailing around Taiwan while their ships continue to sail around the Senkaku Islands. That's my reaction. That's not actually me. Could be me, but it's not. Convenience stores are going to stop selling magazines, which there's a lot of pensioners wondering where they're going to get their dirty mags now, how they can access. How can they access pornography without being able to buy it from the convenience store magazine stand? They're not going to know what to do, and I'm sure as hell not going to be the one to explain it to them. So this is sad. I used to buy Nikkei Trendy magazine. I used to love that. It still is there, but that's right. There's no real reason to buy it anymore. So I kind of understand why it's going. This guy was actually, he was kicked out of a courtroom on marriage rights because he was wearing Family Mart available rainbow socks. And the judge saw his socks and thought that, yeah, it was illegal. A 3-man suing the government because he was kicked out of a trial which he was observing in the gallery. Involving same-sex marriage, and he was wearing socks with rainbows on them. I don't know if the judge was actually related to Vladimir Putin, but there we go. Valentine's Day. Jeez, we've only covered 2 or 3 days and we've already run out of time. Yes, Valentine's Day happened. Apparently not happening at work so much. We had donuts at work. That was pretty good. Anything else worth talking about here? NHK, huge IT disaster where they're suing IBM, which I kind of feel for people on all sides in a way. AI translation, it could have saved that Chinese guy in court. Meantime, apparently they used Google translation of subtitles on NHK News, which translated the Senkaku Islands as the Diaoyutai Islands, the Chinese name for the disputed territory, which means that they've now banned the use of Google Translation at NHK. So I guess you can't really win on this sort of thing. Yeah, apparently even saying that the Japanese have ever done anything good for Korea is about to become illegal in Korea. So the old Monty Python skit, and what have the Romans ever done for us, is basically answering that question. The Monty Python skit itself might be about to become illegal. Japan now wants to do a military information sharing deal with New Zealand because it couldn't get one with the Five Eyes. So they asked who's the most unimportant member of the Five Eyes, and they found out it's New Zealand. Yay, we've got a good rugby team. And they're probably going to wonder when they get information sharing, what is all this military information about Australia that they're sharing with us? Don't tell them. Yeah, I've already talked about the Nissan merger. I honestly, I don't think Nissan was ever sincerely actually considering it. They were just using it to dodge this Taiwanese takeover deal, all of that stuff. We're up on time. I'm going to go set up the after party. Oh, which I haven't even set up the link for, actually. I'm going to set that up right now. And I will be taking all of your requests like I always do. I hope that you enjoy it. I am going to, give me a moment. Boom, 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 boom. I am going to do this so I can share the link. I'm going to create a live stream starting now. Tokyo after party. Shake your booty. And I will set this up for now. Pardon me, I burped. Entering the studio. I can't enter the studio right now. I need to go back to the control panel and view on YouTube. And here is the link. I am posting the link in the chat. Anything by that guy named DJ Sunnyside Up. We can do that. We can do that. I didn't set up the link. It says Aaron. Yes, I did. There it is. I just did it just now. Why does it say sunny and warm here? Well, anyway, that was probably an unposted comment. It is sunny and warm here. So there we go. Oh, and you got a link there as well. So very, very good. Did I post this on? I did post this on the right channel. My Yeah Goes X is already in there. Remember to like the video. I do appreciate you keeping me company. This was fun. It's always more fun when I'm talking quickly. No drugs were involved in the making of this show. I will see you all next week. Have a great week, everybody. Hope it's getting slightly warmer wherever you are in the world, unless you're in the southern hemisphere. And boom, peace. See you at the after party. It's going to set up. It's going to take me a couple of minutes. But thanks for keeping me company. Remember to like. See you later.